This is the Razer Onza Tournament Edition, and it's a rather nice controller in some ways and a really sucky controller in some other ways. It lights up, which hopefully you can see a little bit of, and I guess that's cool, but I don't have any trouble finding the buttons on my controller, because usually if I'm playing, I've got them there, and if I have to look to find the buttons, something's going wrong. What I do like about it is it's got these little adjusters for how tight the action is on them. And so you can run this all the way down, and now instead of being very loose like this one is, it's very tight and slower moving. This is nice for when you're wanting to play driving games, and then when you want to play first-person shooters, you run it the opposite direction and you get the nice loose feel for quick reactions and the accuracy of trying to snipe. It's also got these two buttons on the bottom that allow you to reprogram, and you can see that I've set these two buttons to be the equivalent of pushing down, and it works fairly well, but I don't really like this placement. It's very hard to be running in Call of Duty and then pop a grenade, by rolling down. It just isn't intuitive to me, and it seems that when I'm holding that button I have a harder time getting to the trigger because I'm not going to play like this, as it were. So this is a long ways to go as opposed to just holding them down here. These are really nice trigger buttons. They seem to be a little shorter throw than the stock buttons, and these have a really nice feel. There's almost no motion, but you can still get enough tactical feedback that you know that you've pushed the button. There's no force feedback on this controller, which, if you've watched my hacked version of the Xbox controller, it also has no force feedback, but I like force feedback for driving. So the fact that this is the better controller for driving because of the adjustments to the analog sticks kind of makes this not a good driving game controller. The audio input is also not compatible with the stock headsets because there's none of the two little holes that you need on each side so that it can snap in there correctly. And I don't really like where the start and back button are. They're normally up here, and while that's out of the way, it's not as far out of the way as these are, and I don't instinctively reach for this spot. So it's a wired controller. It's kind of neat that it's got this snag resistant stuff on it, but it's a really stiff wire, and I find that it hampers my ability when I'm really getting into the game. If it gets snagged on things or gets in my way, and it just doesn't feel like it moves with me nicely. So if you're playing a lot of Call of Duty and you're not going to mod a controller the way I did, this is a great joystick. If you're playing car games and you don't like force feedback, this is a great joystick. If you have the ability to mod a controller, I'm much happier with my modded controller than this controller. I also noticed that there were some sharp spots up here on the corners, and for some reason I keep snagging myself on those, and that just may be the way that I hold the controller. So the Onza from Razer, I like their mice. I'm iffy on their controllers. For $50, it's awfully expensive for what it is.